Hey guys, so in this video we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, why are there so junior developer jobs for React? So let's get into it. Well, I don't really know which region this person came from, but I can kind of just share with you what I know myself to be the usual cause as to, well, this is not specific to React it's not specific to React necessarily, but I think it's a very good fit for this issue and the point I'm going to try to relate to you. So I will make a statement, and the statement I will make is that in general there are two reasons as to why it's hard for a junior developer to find a job working with, in this case, say React. And the root cause we need to understand before we can understand the reasons. So the root cause as to why the root cause is because being a junior is, I'm sorry to say, a bad thing for the industry, because you know less. You see, the reason why companies hire juniors is not because you have experience, because the unfortunate fact is that even if you have a master's degree in computer science, you are not ready to start being productive on your first day, because it takes a lot of time to become proficient at software development. And unless you have acquired that knowledge somehow to work at a professional level somewhere else, when you start at a company, you are very likely to be a burden to somebody. And you're going to need some type of training. It's very, very common. And even if you have, like, as I said, the bare bone basics down, that's not going to be enough. So that's the thing that is a problem here. You will not produce money for the company, or you will cost money up front. So from the company's perspective, it means that, all right, they have to pay some recruiter or some person to find you, and then they have to train you and because you're not going to make the money, right? And then they're going to have to pay you a salary on top of that, and the code that you produce is most likely going to be subpar to that of their more senior, like the senior staff and stuff like that. So from a company's perspective, that's not an ideal scenario. I mean, for them, it's much better if they can find somebody who is just immediately going to be able to produce a lot of value, and that is usually a mid-level to a senior programmer. That's, in general, the way it goes. So finding a cheap senior, if that's even possible, is a lot of the time a better bet for the company. However, there is a reason as to why, as I said, why you want to hire a junior, and that is that they are cost effective. But in order for them to be cost effective, you have to have senior staff that already can produce the value that you need. You see, if you start a company and you're looking for people who need to fill spots within your company, the first thing that you're going to look for if you're starting fresh, as an example, is not junior developers, because that's a pretty bad thing. Because the thing is that if you hire a junior and you train them, that's going to come at a cost to the company. If you don't have a senior to oversee that person, it's very likely that it's going to take longer, and it's unlikely that the junior is actually going to do the sort of exponential growth that you really want, so that they can become productive in the shortest amount of time. So the first thing you want is to have a few seniors on staff, so that they can in turn train the juniors, because that's the way that you make hiring juniors cost effective. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You have to have experienced programmers to train the less experienced programmers for that to become a feasible strategy to make money or save money from hiring juniors, because there is a benefit, as I said, to hiring juniors. You just have to have the infrastructure and the office culture around it. Rather, your company needs to be able to accommodate that. So that brings us to the question then, okay, what are the main two reasons as to why you're going to find it, well, some people find it hard to find junior positions for React and so forth. I'll go even one further and probably say that this is front-end in general. Well, I will claim that the main reason why some companies don't hire juniors at all is because of what I said. They don't have an interest in hiring people who will cost them money instead of producing money up front. And some companies just have that policy. They don't want to hire juniors because it costs money. And they will rather find or spend time finding mid-level to senior level programmers that they can like make a quick profit from. This is a lot of the time, it's very common that this sort of mindset exists in consultancies, because a consultancy is just, I mean, they're just renting out hours. So if they can sign any programmer they can sign that will fairly quickly turn into and then they can turn around and hire to somebody else, or like rent to some company, is going to make them more money than it costs them to actually get that person. So for them it's a very basic equation: money in, money out, money in, money out. And some companies, as I said, they don't have the infrastructure to train juniors, so that's a big no-no. I'm sorry to say, that is the unfortunate situation. The other reason, which I think is more interesting than that, because the first one is, I think, the obvious case. The other reason is that there aren't that many seniors. You see, front end and like doing proper React development and being skilled with React, I mean, this idea that senior is a meaningless term that some people will throw around is complete bullshit. It's only a meaningless term if you don't understand what it actually means to be a true senior. And the problem is that there aren't really any seniors around for front-end positions, or rather they are extremely rare. It is very, very rare that you find a front-end developer who has the sort of seniority and capabilities that you need in order to have them train even more junior profiles, because what you need is a person who has a fairly good, like a fairly long, strong experience level, like an experience level that is fairly high. They should have been in the industry for quite a while. They should have the ability to mentor. They should be able to make good tech decisions. They need to be able to handle stakeholders. In other words, a true senior is a person that, by just having them in the company, they raise the entire skill level of everybody around. They raise the quality of the company and the product by just being in the company. In other words, the sum of their work adds to more value than the sum, like the value of the code they produce. That's usually not true for a mid-level programmer or somebody who just kind of writes code. I mean, if hiring a programmer who just produces as much value as the code they write is not a true. That's not a real senior. That's not the sort of person that you want. You need somebody who can take charge and fulfill this role that I'm talking about. And as I said, the fact of the matter is that this term senior in front end is almost a joke today. There are so many people who believe that seniority has to do with how well you know like a specific technology, or how long you've worked, or things of this nature. These are just indicators to your skill level. The true seniority part comes in when you understand these things that I've talked about, and these things come from experience and personal maturity. So finding them in front end, I mean, honestly, most of the so-called seniors that I've met in front end, they are just mid-level programmers who have gotten from being, they have progressed from being a junior to being somebody you can trust that, all right, they will be able to produce the code. But that's not what you need. You don't need people who are still, because that's still too immature of a programmer to take responsibility for hiring and onboarding juniors. You need people with more than that. So basically, in my world, a lot of the so-called seniors in front end are just mid-level programmers who think that they are seniors because they spent some extra time, they've learned the correct libraries. And that's the weird part for me. Some people seem to believe that if you know the right libraries, you are a senior. That's not true. So what I want you to take away from this is that the main reason I would state as to why you might find it hard to find jobs, junior level jobs for front end, is because the industry isn't really mature in terms of seniors that can onboard, and like companies don't necessarily feel comfortable hiring juniors for this sort of technology because they themselves don't actually know how to onboard you. They don't know what it is that is required. They don't have the people who can make sure that they can gain a profit from hiring juniors. As one take on it. And that's the important part. Without those seniors in place beforehand, it's going to be hard for the company to convert juniors into savings and like to actually make money from them. The other part is that they simply don't hire juniors, and that is true for all of the industry. It doesn't matter if it's front end or back, like wherever you work, there are some companies who don't hire juniors, I'm sorry to say. And well, that's at least what I can see, and that's what's true from my perspective. Have a great day.